Unitron Group. For every evolution, a custom-made solution.
Hi, I'm Stefan Reu, CTO at Unitron Group, and I will also present this third part of our Fiber webinar, where I will talk about our online configurator. This is a tool that will help you to prepare your installations before you are on site, because it will calculate all of the RF parameters and optical parameters. It will also create an order list for you so that you are well prepared before you go to the installation. So let's get started. To access our optical tool, go to ucloudserver.com. If it is the first time you go there, you will have to create a new account. Otherwise, you can just log in like in my case. After you're logged in, you will be directed to this dashboard where you see the 4 tools we have currently available. Of course, in the near future, we might add new ones, so please stay tuned for updates. The first one is our digital modular headend, where you can remotely access all your installations. The second one is to configure our DLNBs. The third one is the optical configurator, which I will present in this next presentation. And the last one is our compact satellite converter, where you can also configure installations or setups instead of using the rotary button and the display. So let's go to the optical configurator now. On this intro page, you see the projects I already created, but for this webinar, let's create a new one. So project name, let's call it webinar. And for the installation address, let's use our main office Poperingen. In the next slide, the tool will ask you what type of inputs and outputs you want to configure. And I can say the better and the more accurate answers to the tool, the better, of course, it will be able to calculate later on. So the inputs, first question is wideband LNB. For satellite, we always use wideband LNB because that's the most efficient in our system. So one wideband LNB, at this moment, we limit it to 1. Later on, we can add more, but in this version, it's only 1. Then it also asks if you want to have terrestrial antennas or if you have terrestrial antennas or not, up to 4. So let's take 4. These are questions about the inputs. Then the outputs, you have different types. For simplicity, let's take wideband. And maybe to have more or less an overview, let's go for 32 output devices. Then there are advanced settings. You can look at it, you can change it, but this, what I just did, is the basic information we need to optimize your calculations better. You can also change for satellite the amount of transponders per satellite band, V or H, the input level from your LNB, but I would keep it at 70. Then the MER 12, it will also, you can change it to whatever you want, but 12 is a typical value. Then same for terrestrial, so the amount of muxes, the input level, and the starting MER for terrestrial, typically this is higher, so we have set it to 25. And then these last things, buildings and floor per building, is mainly to determine how we split the optical system. If, for instance, I will enter here 4 buildings, it typically, I assume that it will propose me to start with a 4-way splitter, because then you can go to each building independently. And if you take, for instance, so we have 32 devices, you could say we have 2 floors per building, then maybe it might propose you to first do a 4-way split, then a 2-way split, and then the rest up to 32. So let's see what happens. Now I will create a diagram and with all this information, the tool will try to make the best diagram possible. So let's do it. So this is the result of our synthesizing of what inputs you gave. 1 satellite with an amplifier to boost the level so that we can go down to 32 splits. We have 4 terrestrial antennas going through a profiler to condition the signal as good as possible for our optical transmitters. They are connected to each other with a loop through. And then, as I mentioned before, so we first go to a 4-way. That means these are the buildings 1, 2, 3, 4. And a 2-way splitter, because we said we will have 2 floors. So this means each floor will get another 4-way to split it to, in the end, to 32 receivers. So now you could add more things. You could add attenuators other splitters if you want. For instance, if you say, but this building has more than 2 floors, I have 4 floors, so you could select a 4-way splitter and change it and so on. So you can drag it and start connecting it. You can also add different receivers, but typically the receivers we have here are the 4013 because we set satellite and terrestrial in a wideband solution. So this is the receiver we have to use. So assume everything is okay, or maybe you can also change the length of the cables and so on, because it will start calculating. So if you will now hit the Analyze button, it will calculate all of the levels of every signal and also the quality, starting with a 12 dB MER here and 25 dB MER here. And it will go down further and calculate all of the system levels and qualities. So let's click it, Analyze. And now it gives you feedback on every point, at every connector. If it is green, it means everything is within the boundaries we have set. So everything is green. So you can, for instance, see that this quality of the satellite signal horizontal is still 12 dB MER and the level is 77. Similar for the terrestrial part, so the level is 75 and the MER is 25, so no degradation at all. It will go through our optical transmitter, splitters, and then down to our receiver. And here, what do we have? So we have a 76 dB microvolt level, and we lose 0.6 dB of MER on the vertical and probably the same on horizontal, yes. And terrestrial, we only lose 0.2 dB of MER, and the level is 83 dB microvolts. If this is satisfying because everything is green, you can go to the next step and export your diagram. Sorry, export a diagram is creating a PDF of this schematic so that you can take it wherever you want. The order list, if we click on the order list, it means it will create a list of all your products. So here we see the order list. It means from the schematic in the previous slide, it will take all of the products we are selling. So antenna, if you click on it, you will go to our website to see further details about the product. You will also have the amplifier, so the profiler and the satellite amplifier, the transmitters, the optical splitters, and the receivers, so like 32 receivers. You can also, if you say I want to have some reserve, you can add more or less because you still have some stock of it. And you can also add cables from the left panel. So for instance, if I click plus, then the cable is added, and maybe, for instance, you want to have 10 of those cables. So 10 cables will be added to your order list. You can also click export, and then that means it will create an Excel from all of this, and you can email it to us. You can also go back to the diagram. Of course, these cables will not be included. So if you go back and then create a diagram again, this cable will be lost because it doesn't take into account the amount of cables in the schematic. So this is a short walk through the optical configurator. I hope you liked it, and I hope you also see that we have a very strong tool to really calculate all of your RF signals before you start installing it. Thank you for joining this webinar, and check out our next webinars in the future. Thank you.
Unitron Group. For every evolution, a custom-made solution.